David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have a review of a fairly recently released pen from Leonardo. Leonardo is one of my favorite modern brands. Over the years I have reviewed a large number of their offerings. This particular pen is based on their Momento Zero Grande 2.0 model, and the line is called the Art of Guilloche. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of this tactile offering, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to Vanness Pens for providing this pen for review. Vanness has recently began distributing Leonardo here in the US, so that'll be someplace you'll want to check out. It's also nice to have an additional retailer when Leonardo releases a particularly popular limited edition. It's one more place where you might have a chance to pick something up before it disappears forever. Okay, this line is called the Art of Guilloche, and it is comprised of 3 different colors, each available in 2 different trims. The distinguishing feature of this line is the guilloche engraving on the cap and barrel of each. There is the verdigris, which is available in silver trim, and it is also available with rose gold trim. This green color has a repeating wave-like pattern. Then there is the iris, which is a nice darker blue, and that is also available in the silver. And then there's also a rose gold model. The patterning on the iris is more of like a flowing wave than a repetitious one. Now, the pattern might technically be repeating around the barrel, but the wave lines are far enough from each other, and there is some visual variation, so it doesn't necessarily give the feeling like it's a repeating pattern. And then finally, there is the indigo, and this model is available in rose gold, and rather than silver, it is available in ruthenium. That gunmetal gray of ruthenium trim is one of my personal favorites. I think it pairs nicely with the light blue of that indigo model. The pattern on this one is still repeating, but a bit more geometric. And the version I have to share with you today is the iris. More specifically, the iris with the rose gold trim. As I mentioned previously, this pen is based on Leonardo Momento Zero Grande 2.0 model, with the distinguishing factor being that guilloche engraving. Of the 3 different patterns, I will say the one on this iris model is my favorite. I'm fond of this shade of blue as well. I thought it was interesting. I was searching to see if iris blue was a somewhat standard color and that if it was named after the flower. I found that there are many different versions of colors with the iris blue name, everything from a light blue all the way to a more saturated purple. Okay, let's take a look at the parts and features of this pen. I do love the size of the Momento Zero Grande models. I'm fond of larger pens, and while this one is fairly large, it's not overly heavy at all. As with most Momento Zero models, the top of the cap comes to a rounded coned point. This transitions into the traditional Leonardo wheeled clip. I've always thought that wheeled clips look cool in addition to being functional because when they operate correctly, they help the clip accommodate materials of varying thicknesses very easily. The cap angles up at an even rate of incline until about this point where it straightens out for the last inch or so. The cap is punctuated by 3 thin bands. After that, there is a small step down to the barrel. The barrel tapers down at a fairly even rate of decline, and at the end there is another gold band signifying the beginning of the piston knob, and the end of that knob, like the top of the cap, comes to a rounded coned point. There's no branding on the exterior of this pen, which I felt was a wise decision. An engraving over the guilloche pattern would not have been very attractive. Now, I will say that with the guilloche engraving on this pen, I didn't notice this at all with my naked eye, but when I was taking a close-up look at it with pictures and a loupe, I noticed how the very end of each line was punctuated by a bit of a larger indentation. Now, I'm not certain if that's a byproduct of the engraving or a design decision. I do like that the patterning is consistent, though. It exists on every single line. The cap twists off with a single rotation, and underneath we have a number 6 La Fenice nib. Now, this pen is available in either a stainless steel nib or one that is 14 karat gold. For both nib materials, they're available in a wide variety of options. There is the extra fine, fine, medium, broad, a 1.1 stub, as well as an elastic extra fine and an elastic fine. This one here is the stainless steel. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section is a bit on the chunky side, which I personally prefer. It begins with a small flare and then angles up slightly before you reach the cap threads, and then it transitions into a generous ink window. Now, something that when I first saw it, I thought it would be an issue, this engraving on the side of the section. It's placed right where I rest my thumb. That typically isn't a good place to have some engraving, but I will admit that the engraving is extremely shallow. So shallow that I can't even feel it at all, even if I'm like rubbing my finger on it and trying to feel it. So something that I thought would be an issue is a non-issue. After the ink window, there is a medium-sized step up to the remainder of the barrel. Since I mentioned the piston knob and an ink window, you can safely deduce that this is indeed a piston filler. It has a decent capacity of about 1.5 millimeters. I'll show you during the size comparisons, but what Leonardo does is they sell a tool which enables you to completely disassemble the pen. I won't take the time to disassemble the pen, but I'll at least show you the tool and how to get started with it. The pen is plenty long enough to use unposted. The cap does post, and it does post securely. It's light enough that I don't feel like back weights the pen or throws off the balance, and it posts deeply enough that I don't feel it adds an inordinate amount of length to the back of the pen and makes it unwieldy. The Leonardo Momento Zero Grande 2.0, the Art of Guilloche, is available at Vanness Pens. I'll put a link in the notes below where you can find it on their site. One with a steel nib will run you around $270, and one with a gold nib will be about $425. The gold nib versions also arrive with a bottle of Leonardo ink, which is nice. Okay, now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. So here we have the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande 2.0, the Art of Guilloche. Wanted to give you another closer look. You can kind of really see the waves as I'm turning it here. And I just think that this is some nice, subtle, tactile elements of this pen. I thought it looks nice. In regard to some size comparisons with some other Leonardo models, I believe this was the last one I reviewed, maybe not the last one, but one of the last, which is the Dodici, which is a faceted version of the Momento Zero Grande. Here it is with a Pura, and then here it is with a Fiore Grande. Then here it is with a standard Momento Zero Grande. And here is a Momento Magico. And then this is a standard Momento Zero. And this was my Figboot model, which was my very first project that I did and that I was proud of. I was really happy with the way this turned out. But that's what it looks like in comparison. So in regard to some uncapped comparisons, this is the standard Momento Zero Grande. You can tell the difference is the standard one does not have the ink window. Then this is the Fiore Grande. And then finally here is just the standard Momento Zero. Oh, I mentioned the Leonardo tools that they sell so you can disassemble the pen. And that's why I left this uninked, because I just wanted to at least show you briefly how to use it. So what you do is, this pen is not inked right now. You don't want to do this when this is inked. But you go ahead and pull back the piston, and you can see that there is a little notch here, and then there is an accompanying notch on the other side. And so then you can see that this tool has a couple of notches as well. So what you do is you go ahead and fit the tool in here. Let's see if I can do this kind of one-handed. And then once it fits in there, then you twist it down so that it kind of tightens on the tool a little bit. And then you can go ahead and untwist the piston, and the whole piston mechanism will come out for easy cleaning. Not necessarily that you want to clean it like that on a regular basis, but typically if maybe for some reason over the years you need to add some extra silicone grease to it, then that's something that you would need to end up doing, is to remove the piston in order to add a little bit more silicone grease. But since we want to write with this pen, then let's go ahead and ink it up. And we'll go ahead and take this off so you can get a good look at the ink window. And the ink that I want to use is Leonardo Blue. Let's go ahead and take this off. Then let's go ahead and twist this down, and you'll be able to see the piston come into play there. And then let's go ahead and ink it up. So now you can see that the ink window is full. Let's dab this off and let's set this aside. So here we have the writing sample for the Leonardo. We'll just say Momento Zero Grande 2.0, the Art of Guilloche. And the ink, as you previously saw, is appropriately enough Leonardo Blue. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice darker saturated blue, somewhat similar to something like Robert Oster's Admiral Blue. And then here's another one of my favorites, which is Ackerman's Shocking Blue, which is a little bit more on the purple side and has a bit more sheen to it. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. Oh, I didn't mention that this is a medium stainless steel nib. This pen is basically more on the broad side of medium. The nib is fairly smooth. It's just a hint of really nice feedback to it. The nib is very, very pleasant. In regard to ink flow, I'd say the ink flow on this particular model is very generous. And in regard to reverse writing, it is a little bit on the scratchier side, but it does lay down a nice fine line. And in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up very well. So there we have the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande 2.0, the Art of Guilloche. I do like this model. I think that it's something a little bit different in regard to the technique and the tactile element of it, and so that it's something I think is a good addition to the Leonardo lineup. And don't forget to check the link below where you can see this on the Vanness Pens site. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.